Welcome back, everybody, to Quake Pro League. If you're just tuning in, you missed Razy give Sparty a bit of a pummeling. 3-0 in favor of Razy, but we're going to hop over to the Americas. I am 40 Lions, joined by Lethal, and we got Dooi and Maxter coming up next. Lethal, how do you feel about it?
This should be, I reckon it's going to be another close series. Last time these two played, I think Maxter won it out 2-1, but it was a very close series. And Max hasn't played this stage. This is going to be his first match of stage 2. Dooi has only played one. He lost to Zanaku back in week number 1. He lost 3-0, but it wasn't even a close 3-0. Zanaku actually demolished him, which is not something you really see, especially against a player like Dooi, because Dooi normally keeps every single map so tight-knit, so close between one or two frags. But if he's playing against a player who can really adapt in a strong manner, such as Rafa, then yeah, normally it's pretty much downhill from here. But to lose that battle against Zanaku is pretty surprising. But I don't think that's more on his part. I think that's more the fact that Zanaku's just improved so much over the course of the last month that, it's just one of those things, really. But Maxter still needs to make sure he plays super aggressively, make sure he's unpredictable, make sure his shot is absolutely on form. And if he plays like he normally does, he should be able to take this. But Dooi, I always feel like he is the kind of player who's the thorn in most of these players' backsides in the Americas region, because he's very hard to figure out sometimes.
Yeah, Maxter coming back from a bit of a break. Everybody deserves a break, so this will be the first official match, as you said, for this stage. Looking forward to seeing how he does. I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to be rusty or anything like that. He's been practicing, but it's always nice to see players come back and kind of see what shape they're in terms of the first match back. We saw Avek kind of took a break, and he came back stronger than ever. I'm sure Maxter might have the same story behind it, but yeah, Dooi dropping that game to Zanaku, I don't think that was so much on Dooi, more so that Zanaku is just playing out of his mind. He's been playing a lot with Rafa. I mean, he's the only one to take a map off Rafa in weeks and weeks and weeks, so that's a testament to how Zen is getting better and better, and we'll see him a little bit later today. But Dooi versus Maxter should be a fantastic set. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's anyone's ball game, and I think the map, veto, and champ picks might affect that heavily as we take a look. Exile. It's going to get frosty, Lethal. It's going to get frosty. Awoken and then Veil of Noth. Eisen on Veil is going to be huge going up against the Sorlag. We got Ranger and Galena on Awoken, and we're going to start off on Exile, Athena versus Nyx.
All the small map picks here for we. Very interesting indeed. We see no Molten Falls. That's more due to the fact that Dooi's best two maps from what we've seen the last few months has been Awoken and Molten Falls. Maxter had to choose one. He decided to go for Molten Falls because it suits more his style in terms of the smaller map picks. But normally, I would say for Maxter, his best maps have been Deep Embrace and now and again Corrupted Keep. But for him to select Exile, it's I think it'll be an interesting one. It's his first match of the season. Maybe if he chooses Exile, then at least that way, Dooi hasn't really got much VOD research in terms of what Maxter does on this map. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to predict what to actually expect throughout this map. But Dooi to get Awoken, at least he gets that map. But then again, Maxter, it's not his favourite, but he enjoys it anyway. And Veil, again, with the Eisen, we see Eisen selected so much in Veil, and I'm not surprised we get to see it again. We know how good Eisen could be, especially around that mega area with the turret. It's very, very difficult, a difficult setup to break, but Dooi is the kind of player who can possibly break it depending on how it goes his way in terms of his stack.
Yeah, this one should be a good one. I love the respect for Maxter as well. I mean, Dooi has quite the scale on him, right? And Maxter threw that out immediately and was like, I don't want any part of that. But Athena versus Nyx on Exile. This one's going to be interesting. I've been watching a lot of Exile games going down, both in practice and the regular season. I don't know. It should be interesting. I don't really know how it's going to go with Athena and Nyx, but interested to see what Maxter and Dooi have in store for us.
Yeah, Exile, you could say, plays a little bit like Deep Embrace, not just because of the map size and how the items and the weapons are laid out like Deep Embrace. It's just more the fact that Maxter enjoys playing the small maps against people who are very passive or very defensive, because it doesn't really give him much window of opportunity to try and back away and try and set yourself up for the next game plan. It doesn't really give players like dooi or Dramus time to maybe suggest themselves what they should be doing as their next motive. Maxter likes to be the kind of player where it more goes based on instinct and his initiative rather than the strategic elements that he has going forward. And Exile was perfect for that. Even with the Athena, he can try and catch him off guard. He's got that verticality, of course, to maybe go for the Mega straight after the Heavy, depending on how well the items are segregated. There's a lot of strategic elements, you could say, that Maxter could use in order to throw off dooi, but also to get that item control, depending on how well segregated the items are.
Well, I think I'm not the only one when I say I wonder who's going to fall off the map the most, but this is it. We're going to be live on Exile. Set between dooi and Maxter is live now. Map number 1. Chat, make some noise.
Absolutely, and dooi
wow.
already, literally, I've just gone to the game and already he's got a frag. He's clearly not mucking about here. He wants to teach Maxter a lesson for saying, you want to choose Exile? Okay, we'll see if this is one of your better maps. And it doesn't matter what your game plan could be, but already Heavy only 3 seconds in front of the Mega. He's going to be trying to contest that first if he can. He was considering going for the light before the Heavy, but has decided not to go from behind. But good rocket bear.
Maxter.
In the end, the retaliation, that rail was basically saying to him, no, you're not going to get away with this one, as Maxter ties things up, baiting the Mega, and it looks like dooi will be able to get that.
Yeah, forced to play a bit of a platformer there as dooi claims the Mega. Good rail there. Maxter very weak, needs to get out of there. Still extremely weak even after that health bubble pickup. He's going to be able to grab a 50 shard that's going to help a little bit here, but control goes to dooi here as he's waiting next to this Heavy. Does have the Ghost Walk. Ooh, but he's going to actually leave. Why? dooi gives up the Heavy. A little bit of a misplay there. Misses the rail as he makes his way to the Mega a little bit too early, and Maxter's there with a rocket surprise. dooi 2-1, and yeah, Maxter with that hook, just not afraid to play super aggressive, swaps to shotgun, gets another frag as dooi just can't get anything going right now, but that LG is going to hurt so much. Well done from dooi to get himself back in this and stop the bleeding, forcing Maxter up the jump pad. There's a little bit of buckshot for the butt cheeks, and there's the LG follow-up. 2-3 as dooi says, you're not going to slide away with this one. I don't care how frosty the map is. Mega goes to Maxter, shotgun around the corner from both players, and Maxter gets the better of dooi.
Maxter's been very patient with his shotgun shots. Just biding his time. Gets back to his default stack, but it looks like it's going to be too little too late as dooi, with those mid-air rockets, looking very good here. Waiting for the next Heavy to respawn, which it does. Mega's come up in the next couple of seconds. He may not be able to get there in time, but he can at least try and contest it when Maxter passes through. But it seems like he's decided to go for the rocket spawn instead. dooi now just biding his time, waiting to make the first move to jump on Maxter. But it looks like he realizes that he's just going from behind. He knew that it was going to be caught off guard, decided to wait, backs away, and looks like he needs to give up this Heavy as he goes for the Mega next.
Around the corner, there's the LG into rockets. Ghost Walk. Wow. Just in the nick of time. And there's the tickle as he tries to get just a little bit of something on the way out in terms of damage. Maxter looking real strong, 5-3 right now. Traversing the map well. A little bit of rocket damage there from dooi. Decent rocket there. dooi starting to do a little bit more chip here. Try and get back into this. The Heavy's just going Maxter's way the last 2-3 cycles here. Is dooi a little bit too early. The Mega gets forced off again and gets trapped. There's the shotgun, and dooi is just too quick on these items. He either has to concede and run away, or he dies at the hands of Maxter for mistiming just a little bit too early.
Yeah, some questionable plays for some of these items, but it's still early days as of yet. Maxter got a very, very healthy stack. See if he can force up this next engagement. Finds dooi, so weak, so he's going to try and clean it up with the LG. Picks up the Mega. Nicely done it from Maxter. Didn't really take too much damage, and he can just go straight in for the next attack. Increase his lead. 8-3. It's not looking too good here for dooi, as the Heavy is coming up in the next 8 seconds. Good first rocket and the rail combo straight afterwards. Fabulous stuff from maxter. He's looking to try and do it again. He's trying to stay up, but he can't. As he goes 2 for 2, managed to grab that second frag and still got a very healthy stack.
That was dirty. Maxter hit him with the rail. Dooi tried to use the wall jump to get back up, and as he's clutching for dear life, Maxter looks him in the eyes and says no, and rails him again, takes that frag. And there's another one as the rail's heating up for Maxter. And I have to say, he has the most fantastic nail gun skin for this map. Very fitting. Snowballs everywhere. As Dooi is just, there's no answer here. Maxter hitting everything, catching Dooi off guard with these rails off the spawn, and it's just relentless right now from Maxter.
5 minutes.
Looks like Deep Embrace isn't his only better map. It seems like XR could be on par to one of his best maps. But this is the great thing, you know, some of these players, depending on his style, will try and establish the meta in terms of how to set up for some of these items, some of the plays, the defensive strategies. And there's definitely 2 players to look at. As maxter now is trying to sneak behind him. He knew exactly where he was, cleans him up anyway. Beautiful stuff as Dooi now has got to try and come back from a 10 frag deficit. That's 1. Still needs another 9. Picks up the heavy, but has taken so much damage from that last engagement. He needs to try and make something happen. Still though, 2 beautiful shotgun shots to clean him up again. He wants to try and go for the mega, which he should be able to here with ease. Is he going to do an aggressive ghost walk? No, he will not. As he realizes he still needs to try and somehow contest this heavy with maxter holding the high ground on that rocket spawn.
Dooi looking a little stronger right now. He's going to be able to get this heavy, which feels like after an eternity of not being able to claim it. Does get it under his belt, but he's down 8 frags already. Massive deficit. And that rocket is going to give Maxter the information he wants. Dooi has to be careful, and just like that, the hook steals away the mega. Dooi needs to be super careful jumping through that window there. Almost icing himself. Has to try and battle back. It's going to be difficult though. Maxter goes through the telly, misses with the rail. Well-placed rocket from Dooi into rail combo, and that was beautiful. Heavy again goes to Dooi, and this is the momentum that he needs, but time is ticking. He's got to pick up the pace. Unfortunately, misses with that rail. Tries to get another one, misses again, and Maxter laying on the damage with the LG, punishing every miss that Dooi has, and again stealing away the mega, making it so much more difficult. And then Dooi hits shots like that. Rocket to rail combo. Maxter's going to wait there patiently. Good dodge on that rocket. Maxter can dance all day. A little bit of shotgun blast, and wow, Dooi picks him out of the sky. He's not going to hook away from him that easy. 6 frag deficit now. The shotgun off the spawn is going to be enough. The Ghost Walk for a little bit of insurance. 21 HP, and he claims the heavy. Dooi has a shot at this.
That was beautiful from Dooi these last couple of minutes. We was worried for him at one stage, considering that he had those few missed rails, even when Max didn't have the weapons in his arsenal. But this could be Maxter's chance to try and come back from this. Decides to leave the lights, back to way. Knows that heavy's come up in the next few seconds, but this is his chance to try and contest it. If he manages to get this frag and contest it, it could be all over here for Dooi. Dooi on 2550 HP now. Gonna see if he can go for this mega. Decides to prioritize the light first. Completely understandable, but that was a big risk. It was a big gamble, but now he's giving it to Maxter. Some good rockets from Dooi, but is it going to be enough? Good first rail, but instead Maxter is the one who wins that bout. Cleans him up for the LG, and Maxter's going to try and get away and hopefully be able to get this heavy, depending on the height disadvantage that he has. 3 HP, Maxter. Oh, he still managed to take him down when he was on 3 HP at the time. Good spawn rail as he was pushing up for that LG.
So unfortunate there, dude. Trying to make something happen, didn't have a choice, and Maxter was ready for it. Clutch rail as he's in the lead. Firm 7 frags. Minute and a half less than now for Dooi, and this is going to be a tall order. I don't think he can do it. I think it's probably done. I mean, this map is really small, but with rockets like that, even with the frag in Dewey's pocket, he did enough damage, Maxter did, on his way out, to where Dooi can't really play super aggressive off the spawn. He needs to. The time is, ticking, but just doesn't have the stack for it. And now he's trying to find him. Maxter has the rail that he wants to play defensive with, and there's the jump. Is it enough? And, okay. We're getting a little crazy now. Getting a little crazy. It's a little icy. It's slippery. The whole map looks like a frosted pound cake here. There's a fantastic rail. Needs to try and cut off with a shotgun, and there it is. Mid-air collusion. And dooi will take, priority over that. Shotgun out when in doubt, but 5 frags down. It looks like this is still going to go Maxter's ways. He steals away the heavy. LG on LG. Into the shotgun. Is it going to be enough? It's not. The zoom shotgun not landing for dooi. Maxter is extremely weak, but with 25 seconds left, this one will go to Maxter, and that's a big first map. Maybe taking breaks is the key. Maybe that's what it is.
Sometimes a break is good. Not too long of a break, but just enough to kind of chill, refresh. Sometimes you could burn yourself out. No one likes people burn themselves out, obviously. But Maxter, though, looked very, very good on that map. But like I said, it plays out a little bit similar to Deep Embrace. And guess what? For Maxter, Deep Embrace is one of his best maps. So it doesn't surprise me that he also did really well on Exile too. As you can see there, dooi still had 108 more damage. But Maxter, look at the item control. 25 items in comparison. 53% rail. It's just looking so good right now for you. So good.
I feel like some of the plays, dooi wasn't expecting Maxter to be that ballsy and hook in and steal the item, so dooi was kind of looking for a different entry strategy, and instead Maxter just came up with the hook and said, this is mine, and just yoinked it out of there. And I think a lot of that kind of got in dooi's head about, okay, I need to be careful about where he's coming from, and that kind of opened the doors for Maxter. Also, hitting everything doesn't hurt. That's usually a good sign, and there it is. Look at that, just hanging on by a thread, and Maxter says, no, you're gonna die here. But yeah, it's good to see Exile being played. I hope to see it more and more. It's a great map. But Maxter just outclassed dooi on this one. Takes the first map in the set. Does dooi have a reply? Does he have an answer? We'll see.
I hope so. It was just a little bit more one-sided than what we expected. It was just a shame that when dooi was making that comeback, trailing behind from 10 frags to 5, you saw that no matter what weapon he had, if, for example, Maxter picked up the LG on spawn and tried to get away, then he'll play to his disadvantages. So, for example, he'll play a distance game to try and take him out with the rail or do some damage, or use the rockets up close. He will try and do anything he can. If he knows the exact spawn location of where Maxter could be, then he'll work to his advantage. He knows he hasn't got the weapons in his arsenal, so he has to try and make something happen with the weapons he has and play the distance game in terms of which weapon he wants to use. But, a good comeback from him, but it just wasn't enough. Maxter was just all over him. His instincts and his initiative in terms of how he played that map was just godlike. It was really well done from Maxter. And it's like I said, when you're playing against a player like dooi or Dramus, where they're very passive and you've got to try and adapt to their gameplay, some of the best maps to play are some of the ones with the small map geometry, like Deep Embrace or Exile, or maybe even Awoken in that matter. But speaking of Awoken, I think that's going to be the next map, isn't it?
Yep, we got Awoken coming up next. Again, with the Exile, I love seeing more and more weeks and sets go through Exile. I want to see the meta evolve. I want to see some crazy plays. I want to see, what people have in store. But yeah, hats off to Maxter taking that one. But we do have Awoken coming up next. Thoughts on this one, Lethal?
Well, this is doi's map pick. It's always been one of his better maps, apart from a couple of the others in terms of Awoken and Molten Falls. So Molten Falls is normally his go-to as well, depending on if he gets that first frag or not. But no, this should be an interesting one. It won't be like how we saw Exile in terms of how they're both going to play this out. Who's going to get that top mid control? Who's going to play for those audio cues? Who's going to make the first mistake in terms of trying to be over aggressive and try and push up for that mega? There's going to be a lot of questions which are going to be asked here. But from what we saw from Maxter, he did a very, very good job. But on a map like Awoken, we need to see Maxter try and adapt a little bit quicker and a little bit better.
We'll see if he can do that. Maxter on the Ranger, dooi on the Galena, and we are live map number 2 between these two. Maxter with the map advantage, and also with the heavy, trying to serve up some heat through that drive-through window right off the bat, missing with the rail, unfortunately. dooi getting a rail of his own, ready to play Rail Wars if he needs to. Both players missing with these rails now. dooi wants that LG, using the tri-bolt to try and zone him out. Maxter goes all up in there, rockets flying out, and wow, lands its mark, 10 HP. Luckily for Maxter, and that's gotta hurt as dooi takes a rail going up the jump pad, throws down the totem just to secure the mega. Was it worth it? He's gonna push in, but the rocket is gonna be so strong, almost getting the combo into the rail, and he's not done yet, but neither is Maxter. Wow, the last rocket just absolutely obliterates dooi. He's got to be so frustrated. He knows Maxter's weak, and Maxter's still maxing out damage on his way out, hitting that fantastic rail, making his way out of there, and surviving to fight another day, almost hitting another rail. dooi wants this frag so bad. There's the LG on LG, and finally, dooi takes him down. A sigh of relief.
I still feel like Maxter outstayed his welcome contesting that Mega earlier on. But even then, dooi still approached him, but he approached him in a straight line. So you could see Maxter was able to get a nice direct rocket there. Great stack from Maxter. He's looking very good here. 15 seconds until the next Mega. And Maxter's game plan is to make sure not only to contest these items from top mid, with the fat control that he has, but also to to keep on his toes and keep an eye out for any totems which dooi is leaving behind and check those unorthodox spots here. But LG on LG, dooi managed to take that and got the Mega to boot. And still early days as of yet. Drops the totem anyway. He realises that his rocket jumped over to the rail, but doii's not going to go after him. He hasn't got the stack. Max is looking very healthy in that department and needs to be careful as Max has found that totem on a tri-bolt spawn straight away.
Yeah, really good push there from dooi on that Mega, knowing that Maxter was a little bit early, taking that item, taking that frag, and stopping the bleeding, so to speak, as Maxter trying to get some rail damage out here on the Mega. dooi does a great job of hitting his reply. Needs to be careful, though. We've seen people get floated off that ledge before. Crazy. As he almost gets taken down. Does throw down a totem. Maxter trying to lay on the damage. There's a little bit of rocket damage. 10 HP for dooi as he grabs the 50 shard. doii's still extremely weak. Maxter adding to his stack here. So both players about equal. Is dooi going to put some pressure on this? He is. That's a fantastic rocket. Maxter almost gets taken out as he doesn't quite make the landing the first time. Has to go off the jump pad, but here's the pressure from Maxter. Totem goes down. Is it going to be enough? And the shotgun swap is going to be enough, but doii's so incredibly weak. Oh. There it is. Maxter cleans that up with the ward play. Wasn't going to let that one get away, Lethal.
Certainly wasn't indeed. I thought he was going to be kicking himself when he hit against the wall going for that heavy earlier, but luckily for him, he was given the opportunity to try and grab it as he was backing up. LG comes out for Maxter. Very good tracing there. Misses the last rail, but he's already done enough damage to keep him at bay. Maxter, though, has picked up the heavy, looking very good. Wait for him to cross paths on the staircase. Hits the first rail, misses the second. But dooi gets one of his own, and that was a lovely rocket. Interesting, to say the least. I don't think he expected him just to fire a rocket out like that, but maybe he mispredicted it. Who knows? But hits the first rail again. LG comes out. Max is going to increase his lead 7-3 here for you.
Maxter looking so strong, and dooi just gets caught out. He wasn't even really looking in the right direction, it didn't look like, for that last frag. So 4 up for Maxter. 4 minutes in. Almost gets a rail. Just barely nipping at the heels right there. But Maxter's super comfortable right now. Rocket jumping around, using that Ranger passive. Asserting dominance. There's a great rocket there. So he wants to take position, but he needs more rockets. Out of rockets, has to rely on LG. Doesn't even have a lot of LG either, so he needs to be very careful here with his next couple moves. So a little bit of a warning shot from dooi, forcing Maxter back onto the Mega. He'll take that comfortably. Still doesn't have rockets. He's going to be able to make his way towards there before going back to the heavy, and doii's going to have to concede. The stack isn't terrible, but he just doesn't have the positioning for it.
No, he really doesn't. Maxter hasn't even really been top mid that much either. Like, you know, this is the first time in a while we've seen him up there, but neither player is really holding that position. They're just trying to go for the flanks and trying to out-coordinate each other in terms of, oh, the stature, but look at this, the LG comes out, but that totem might save him. No, he won't, as the orb absolutely destroys dooi there. Destroys the totem, and now he's going to try and contest this heavy. Surely this is going to be his. Yes, it is. It's Maxter now up 9-3. This is a completely different series compared to when these two players last played against each other. As they're going to try and finish him off with the rocket. Good shotgun, but he's only on 28 HP, and you can see there dooi is not available. Maxter needs to back away. Will he find him top mid? No, he won't. So Maxter gets away with his life. Mega is up in the next second, and you can see doii's going to try and contest that heavy as well. Good first rail, misses a second. dooi retaliates with one of his own. Good rail there from dooi, but still not early days, but we're past the halfway mark as we've got 4 minutes and 20 left until the end of the map. So dooi still has a little bit of time left to make something happen.
And it's not every day you see Dewey get a dose of his own medicine with the Dire Orb, but Maxter doing a good job of using that Ranger ability. Dewey trying to maintain control here. Gets behind Maxter. Makes sure that Mega doesn't go to him, but he gets so much LG damage, but luckily for him, the clutch rail swap gets him that frag. Only down 4, plenty of time, but Dewey has to try and keep this stack alive while he gets in on the heavy. But there's Maxter right around the corner. LG out, absolutely melts Dewey. Didn't have the right weapon out. Just barely getting caught out, and Maxter makes him pay in full.
Oh, look at the tracing from LG and the rocket straight afterwards. Doing so much work, and even just then you saw he was going to go for the light, decided not to. Prioritizes the Mega. The right play, and Dewey just rocket jumps up and says, no, you're not having any of that. And manages to clean up, but still 3 minutes and 15 left. Plenty of time for Dewey to make something happen here. And he's going to take so much damage, but manages to survive on 37 HP. Got plenty of armor behind him, but needs to hit these rails. Misses the first 2. He's going to go top mid to get some kind of map control. Good rocket, but I don't think it's going to be enough as Maxter cleans things up. And now is still ahead by 5 frags, 12-7.
Dewey somehow staying alive. Well, if he gets this frag somehow, it'll be incredible. Somehow still staying alive. Maxter can't find the damage he needs, and Dewey making him pay and actually gets that frag, and that was a miracle. I'm going to say it. That was absolutely incredible that Dewey not only survived, but got the frag back. Still down 4 with 2.5 minutes remaining. The tactical rocket jump to peek over the ledge here, as he's going to go straight into Maxter. Doesn't have a choice, and the rails won't land. Maxter with a fire back of his own, clapping back on Dewey, getting that frag back. 5 frags is still going to be the deficit for Dewey. Gonna need a little something, and these rockets not landing into the tribal. Maxter actually takes the fight to him, and the shotgun will land for Dewey. So Maxter getting a little bit crazy with the Dire Orb, handing him that frag. Good rail off the spawn. Maxter trying to reply with a rail of his own, and Dewey has an opportunity here. 4 frags, 2 minutes. Needs to play clean. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible here. If you can just catch him out in the sewer, and that's a fantastic rail from Maxter.
Yeah, that was a great rail there. And also his decision-making, decided not to go for that Mega. But in the end, it doesn't matter. Dewey manages to clean things up. But how does Maxter want to play this? He's up by 3 frags. But the only problem is, does he want to play defensively and play ring around the rosy half the game? Or does he want to at least try and retaliate? I feel like at this moment, he needs to try and at least get 1 or 2 more frags, or try and establish some kind of map control, contest the items a little bit better. But then again, who knows? He's still got 1 minute and 15 left. It is doable with 3 frags. But definitely not impossible, as Dewey is on the hunt and his aim is looking phenomenal. But it just depends on if he can catch Maxter off guard. His rocket jumping back and forth from the rail area back to heavy. It's just keeping Dewey guessing. He's not really losing too much HP from all this. He's still on his default stack. But look at these rockets from Maxter. Dewey's trying to do everything he can to get the correct flank going to take the right route. And Maxter's just saying, no, I'm not having any of that. I'm still going to go around. I'm still trying to back away from you. But now with 3 frags, he should be perfectly fine here. But as I say that, good rocket, but look at that. Maxter orbed across and managed to get that rocket before he said, see you later. And that is definitely game, set, and match. 25 seconds left, 4 frag deficit. Nothing Dewey can do here. But what a great way to finish things off.
The victory sip from Maxter is cool guys don't look at their own frags, apparently. Maxter just using that Ranger passive so well to just be a nuisance. Going back and forth, there's the victory lap, and yeah, that's quite the performance from Maxter in this set right now.
Yeah, we said it before. Maxter, the last time both these players played against each other, it was a 2-1 series in favour of Maxter, and all the maps were very close, but it seems like Maxter is already, you know, up 2-0, is going to try and go for the 3-peat and try and get a 3-0 sweep. Will he be able to do it for you? You know, that's the next question. He's already lost, Dewey's lost on his own map pick on Awoken, but was it the right decision? You know, that's the question.
I feel like, so we got Vale coming up, and it's going to be Eisen for Maxter, I believe, and Sorlag for Dewey. I give that edge to Maxter because of the Eisen. I mean, that turret is just going to be such a nuisance, even though Sorlag has the stack and can jump around in the acid and have a good time. On Vale, I just give that advantage because Timmy the Turret is just so strong on that map, especially near the Mega, or even some spots, you know, around Rockets. And I feel like Dewey has to be extremely careful not to let go of that stack advantage, and that's exactly what Timmy the Turret does. It melts that stack advantage and makes it more even. And then, you know, you have Eisen, Maxter, again, hitting all his shots, looking fantastic. Add that in, and it could be a nightmare for Dewey. I feel like if he can control the turret and make sure that he's not going into traps, going into the bamboozle, then he might have a shot. But I feel like Maxter is playing so confident, he's playing so smart. I feel like he's going to have the trap set up that he needs to take this 3-0.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. If you said to me that it's an Eisen versus Sorlag matchup, you would assume that Max is the one with the Sorlag and Dewey is the one with the Eisen, because it kind of suits their style on how they want to approach this map. But yeah, very strange that it's actually the opposite end of the spectrum. And as you see from the damage count there, just over 1,200 more damage in favor of Maxter. The rail accuracy isn't the greatest, but look at the tracing from Maxter's LG, 44% against the 34% of Dewey, and the amount of damage output is down 1956, and he still did 44% in terms of accuracy. That is unheard of. But now we'll have to see what Dewey can do to stop Maxter from going on a 3-0 sweep. We know how difficult it is to play against Eisen. Eisen is a very common champion pick, I feel like, for Vale in terms of what you want to do in terms of strategy. Most people normally have to tow it up on top mid on the top mega to make sure if they do portal through, they get blocked, or just to be a nuisance in terms of feeding them info if they're on top heavy or anywhere else. Sometimes some people even leave the turret on the rocket spawn in case if you do take out your opponent, then you can hear the turret, it make its movement, and you know exactly where it can be going off spawn. There's lots of things you can do with the turret, and it's no surprise here that we're seeing another Eisen on Vale.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see, based on the spawns, how each player is going to approach their start. We've seen Maxter play super aggressive off the spawn, so if he gets Rockets or LG, he might just go straight for it. It's going to be a little bit tougher against the Sorlag, but it's all about defending Rockets right off the bat if you can on Vale, especially with that turret in your pocket. I feel like, again, Maxter has the advantage. He might be on his way to a 3-0, but Dewey's going to do everything in his power to say, no, I'm going to take a little bit of that money, but it all comes down to this. Maxter already taking the set, but again, every map is money, so Dewey's going to be fighting for his life on this one. Uphill battle, in my opinion, but chat, this is it. Map number 3 of the set between Dewey and Maxter. Maxter looking oh so good. Dewey has a tough road ahead for the next 10 minutes.
He certainly does indeed, as we are starting off with Maxter to find out what his game plan is and what he exactly wants to do. So the turret has already been used. Still got a little bit of time left, and both his players won't be prioritizing the hourglasses as much as you'd think. So they could literally be anywhere in terms of what they want to do with their game plan. Maxter just double checking, making sure no one is around that mega area, but from that rocket jump, he's going to go straight away, but it's not looking too good. Here's Dewey's trying to clean him up. Did his best, but just not quite, as he has placed the tower up in the perfect position. So if he goes for the telly, he won't be able to contest the mega straight away. But look at the damage he's done. A nice chunk of damage. He did at least 75 damage with the turret, and Dewey was still able to take him down.
Just that spit damage put him over the edge. That was actually a really good play from Maxter, maximizing his damage on his way out, but the spit too strong. Sorbet, acidic as ever. 1-0, needs to be careful. The shotgun blast into rail for Maxter will tie that up, hits him with the fadeaway from beyond the arc, hits him right off the spawn as well. Dewey needs to be really careful here. So much LG damage. He's going to just push in and try and get as much damage as he can. Maxter adds on another frag and takes the lead early.
They dropped the turret down on the rocket spawn straight away to see if Dewey would push straight for the telly. Dropped it a little bit late, but that's not his fault now. It's just literally just timing in terms of trying to prep for that, but he didn't really get the time to actually do it. But it doesn't matter. He's got the information he needs. He knows he's just got the rockets, his portal through. Dewey has the high advantage, but Maxter doesn't care. He's going straight in with the LG, slightly better tracing. He had a better stack. He's going to try and contest the rockets, which he has done. Picks it up. Was it worth the 2 rails? Probably not. But Maxter is at a massive advantage in terms of stack. Tried to clean him up with the shotgun as he portaled back through. Didn't manage to get it, but he does have the turret. He's going to place it slightly differently, not directly in front of the portal, but just behind it, just to be a little bit more of a nuisance in terms of how dooi wants to portal through. As he gets the first rail, good LG damage, cleans him up beautifully. Still has a slight stack to maybe survive this next engagement. As he takes the rocket, doooi's going straight in. Beautiful LG as he's flying down. But the health orb is literally right next to him, so he should be fine.
Let's grab the health orb to stop the bleeding, and dooi gets caught out again by Maxter and his LG. Maxter is railable, but doooi's going to spawn over the LG. Turret in hand for Maxter, a 4-frag lead as well. The drop, dooi with decent rocket damage, needs to be careful though. Again, he gets caught out in that situation where he's fighting Maxter, but Timmy popping off puts one on the board for Maxter, and that is the bane of every player's existence. Trying to go through that telly when you know that there's a turret there, and dooi just raw aggression off the spawn, getting that frag, forcing his way back into this game. 2-6, still plenty of time, but you can tell dooi's he's like getting a little frustrated. He's going a little more aggro, which can work with Sorlag, especially with Spit in hand. He's missing that rail. Giving that damage to Maxter, needs to be careful not to do that. Oh, there's another one for free almost. Was that the third one? How did he even hit that one? As Maxter is absolutely crazy. The Spit will land. dooi sees all of the damage, now just needs to land this rocket. Maxter, he could dance all day. He could dance all day, Lethal. Somehow gets out of there with taking no damage at all. dooi misses that last rail, and that was just, wow.
Oh, Doug. That's dooi now. Still got a high disadvantage, but he's going to go for the telly and keep this mega control going. He's got a fantastic stack. Just needs to try and not take too much damage in next engagement so he can grab him on spawn and force the next one. As we're not even at the halfway mark yet. And he's left the turret there in front of the rockets to see if dooi passes through, which he hasn't done. He's not going for that bait at all. Does have the acid in his back pocket. Just walking slowly to see exactly where he could be. He has the information he so desperately requires in order to force out this fight. He's going to try and grab it if he can. Good first rocket. LG is not looking the best, but managed to finish him off anyway. That was good stuff from dooi, as he's got the first rail which he desperately needed. Misses the second, but managed to get that spit out in time and cleans him up the LG again and come back as on as we hit the 5-minute mark and hits the first rail on the LG spawn again, as Max is just trying to stay alive before this mega pops in the next seconds.
dooi doing a good job of hitting the rails he needs. He's still lacking heavily on the rail, only hitting 15%, 3 for 19. But if he can start stringing together some off the spawn, it's going to be okay. He's only down 2, not the biggest deficit ever, especially in a map like this. He should be okay, but he needs to be careful of things like that, dealing with the turret nicely. Now he needs to be careful not to take this extra damage from down below. Maxter goes through the telly, and there's another rocket in his pocket. Just like that, Maxter up 3, right off the spawn. So much LG, dooi rushing the rockets, and that is going to cost him so much of his stack. Oh no, there's the chase, and Maxter smelled blood, playing a little bit of Turok now as he's hunting down that dinosaur. That's a 4-frag lead. dooi was looking strong for a little bit there, but Maxter says no momentum for you. Now he has to be really careful where he jumps over. Does get the heavy, takes out the turret as well. There's a rocket jump getting a little crazy, just wants a piece of him. He wants to take a bite out of Maxter, and Maxter's so good at playing this dancing game. Where did he learn to dance, Lethal? Somebody tell me.
I have no idea, and he shouldn't even gone out of that situation with the stack Maxter had. But this is dooi's window of opportunity now to make something happen. He's got just over 3.5 minutes left. Knows exactly where Maxter is. Maxter's rail has also been on point. Looking at the hit percentages, dooi's only got 19% of rails hit, but Maxter has 52%. It's unreal, but if dooi find that rocket, then Maxter would have been in a world of trouble. As the turret comes out, so does the LG for dooi and cleans him up beautifully. It is only down by 2 frags, but it needs to re-heal. It needs to try and restack if he can. Cannot go down the rail room as Maxter's already spawned there, going for that rail. And the light, but beautiful rail there as Maxter knew that he's probably going to contest that heavy. He was literally half a second roughly until that was going to pop, and he came just in the nick of time as maxter has the height advantage, waiting for the mega, and is going to see exactly where dooi is going to go, where it hits the first rail, just barely misses the second, but the damage has been done. dooi needs to back away here.
These rails are just absolutely vicious from maxter. dooi has no answer. We've covered before, he just can't hit these rails again, and he's in a position where he can't use machine gun, he can't use rail, he's just taking all this damage for free, and maxter gets another one right on the old tail here. Now he's going to just dive in with LG, knows that he could take the fight, and he does, takes the frag up 4 again as we get closer and closer to 2 minutes left. dooi has got to try and find some answers, and that rocket's going to be a good start, but just like that, Timmy pops off again, gets his attention, and maxter's right there with a railgun in his face again, and it's just so brutal right now. maxter playing this so well, taking that heavy. dooi can't land the rail again as he moonwalks his way down, trying to set up for another rail, doesn't get it. And oh my god, I thought he wasn't going to make it. That would have been it. That would have been done, but he does make the jump, so everything's okay. Still a minute 40 on the board, down 5. And look at this jump that he gets on maxter. That's going to be big damage here. The turret goes down, and maxter somehow just has the rockets that he needs. And dooi is not happy about this one at all. You could kind of tell the frustration coming out as the early GGs come out. And what do you say? I mean, maxter played every map so strong. He came out swinging. He played his game. He had an answer for anything that dooi may have thrown his way. As yeah, dooi just good old webcams there. This is just brutal. It's just brutal. So yeah, really it's not often you see that in the Pro League, but sometimes frustrations flare up. Sometimes your opponent just bests you so hard that you're like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go to Whataburger. I gotta get a milkshake. This didn't just happen to me. Hats off to maxter. Like, first week back after a little break, looking so strong.
We saw in the map pool as well, when we looked at the maps, we're just like, it screams a 3-0 for maxter, but it may not happen because dooi's map, Awoken is one of his better maps. But after seeing that second map, and then it's Vale and Max is playing the ice, and we're just like, I'm not really too sure about this. But he utilised the turret so well in every situation possible. He used it to feed information when he's coming through. He used it to block dooi's entrance for going for the mega when he portaled through. He used the turret to make sure that he used it as a shield on so many different occasions. But not only that, the damage which he used from the turret. There was at one point where on one of the last frags, that turret did 120 damage just sitting there. It helped him so much. I felt like it was 2v1 sometimes. Like, the turret did so much damage in comparison to what it normally does. Because, nowadays, when someone uses Eisen, they don't normally do it for the damage. It's more just to be a bit of a nuisance, a bit of a pain in the backside. Just use it as shield or information. But the amount of damage it was doing, I think everyone would have been ripping their hairs out. I think I would have gone totally grey by the end of that map if it was anyone else.
Yeah, definitely just a super frustrating series for dooi. That wasn't his peak performance at all. So the frustration overwhelming. You could tell he wasn't happy with his performance, and that's not his regular level of play for sure. But maxter, he looks really good. dooi's performance aside, maxter looking really strong coming out of the gate, getting a 3-0 on the board, his debut back in stage 2. Just really, really well done there. I don't know what he was doing in his off time. Maybe VOD review, maybe just push-ups, getting jacked, trying to max his ZSX. I don't know. Either way, whatever he's doing, it worked, and he's looking really, really strong.
He's been looking fantastic. Yeah, Max is, like I said earlier, it's his first match of the stage, and what a way to start things off with a 3-0 over dooi. dooi, every single series, it's normally 2-1 or 1-2, in his favour or in his opponent's favour. You very rarely get to have the chance to clean sweep him, and the fact that maxter did, it wasn't with ease. He kept some of the maps close, but that last map was just ridiculous. Everything he did with the turret, he utilised it so well, always kept that height advantage. His rails were just through the roof. Sadly for dooi, his rails were a bit bleak. I think I said at one point he only had 17 or 18% rail accuracy, and that wasn't from like a couple of shots. That was from like 21, if I remember rightly. So wasn't really feeling it too much. He was didn't have the angles he wanted in terms of trying to take maxter down and do some damage in order to push in. He tried to equal the aggression, but he just couldn't really do anything. He didn't have any answers, and it seemed like but Maxter just had all the answers to it anyway. So well played from Maxter. Good start for him in stage 2.
Absolutely. Hats off to Maxter with the 3-0. And we got another America set coming. We got Zanaku effortless. So why don't you go grab your shoes? We'll be back in a little bit, and we got more Quake action on the way.